Great. Welcome to the Wolf of Queen Street podcast series. Welcome to the audio podcast or the YouTube series if you're joining us today. The Wolf of Queen Street is an entrepreneurship podcast series that hears people's stories about the success, the challenges, and the demons they had to overcome to achieve what they have today in a different niche or service they are providing. Today, I'm joined by Jason Priest, the dad bod from Bod Health, the person that's helping gentlemen and guys take control of their bodies and getting rid of the dad bod, as the famous quote of, there is a right to accept yourself as a dad bod, but we need to actually focus on our health, our mental state, and take control of our life. Welcome to the show, Jason.
Hey, man. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
So one thing that I took a look at when I look into Jason's history and path about it is a lot of people you see in the personal training game, in the fitness game, they pretty much just followed a normal path of their life, and at some stage they became a personal trainer and they wanted to then help people, and they say, okay, I understand, or I've had the experience to be able to help people. With Jason, and it wasn't really that way. You've come through it, that you had a hard childhood. You know, I know your story was that you were into the drugs as young as something like 13 or 14 years of age. Your youth wasn't the great experience that you wanted to have. Even into your 20s wasn't the great experience that you wanted to have. And over the time of going through that hard journey, you finally find a place where you could offer people insight. You want to take our listeners through a little bit of your journey through that time period?
Yeah, absolutely, man. I'm glad you brought that up, because I think it's an integral part of my life. And to be honest with you, a lot of the trials and tribulations that I dealt with as a youth have provided me some grit and resiliency when it comes to entrepreneurship.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody out there listening knows that being an entrepreneur, a business owner of any sort, is never an easy task. But I firmly believe that nothing in life worth doing is easy. So with that being said, you kind of started, maybe my early teens, which is really about the time that I started kind of having, a little bit more trouble in my life. And so I grew up in a single parent household with my dad, who was basically involved in my life simply related around my soccer. I played soccer for 15 years. I was really good at soccer. And I just, when that time was up, didn't have a love for soccer anymore. It was pounded in my throat on a daily basis. And there was a time I remember playing on 5 teams at once. And so my life was dominated by soccer. So I always knew what it was like to be fit. But I had a lot of insecurities, and looking back on my life now, I realized that a lot of the drug use was simply a way to cover up the pain that I was dealing with at home. And so my mom was an alcoholic. She was highly depressed. She smoked in the house, spent most of her days in bed, and I had to witness that on a daily basis. And so over time, seeing my mom, basically slowly kill herself. She's since passed away. When I was 25, she was 49. So obviously very, very young. And watching my mom kind of wilt away just led to me being in a place where I just didn't want to see that. It was painful for me to watch. And so that's kind of what I've determined to be the basis of my the drug use during high school and really running with the wrong crowd. So then I decided one day, I believe I was, let's call it 19 years old. It was right after high school. And I knew that I needed to get out of that path of disaster. And so I was taking some community college classes and met a couple of guys who mentioned nursing school.
Yep.
So I took it and ran with it, man. And I figured out that becoming a registered nurse was a 2-year path out of, if I just focused for 2 years, I could get myself out of this hole that I was in and headed down this dark path. And so that's what I did. I took it and ran with it, excelled very quickly as a nurse, and immediately started working in the ICU at 23 years old, which, hindsight being 2020, I'm not sure that was the greatest decision.
Yep.
But all things happen for a reason. So I was still young and immature and not anywhere close to what I would call a man at that point, but was taking care of critically ill patients. And, that's kind of the journey that led me to where I'm at today. But it was just a very lengthy journey, because I'm what I refer to myself as a late blooming entrepreneur. We're all on our own different paths and journeys. But
Correct.
me, I use nursing as kind of the foundation of my business, because the way that I know you mentioned most people in the fitness realm, in this space, it can be quite a crowded space, but the way that I stand out from the crowd and the way that I set myself apart is that I'm not your typical online fitness coach, and that I'm not here to help you get, shredded and ripped. I can help you do that if you really want to do that. But my passion and where I thrive most is helping people regain their quality of life, significantly reduce their health risks, potentially lower or get off any medications that they're on, addressing the root cause so that they can lead by example, be around long-term for their children, and watch their children grow up to pursue greatness just like they hope they do. And so that's really where I thrive. Fitness is very much a part of my life, but it's one slice of the pie. And I'm a firm believer in that food is one of the many joys of life. And as you see my logo here in the background, I'm very much a burger and an IPA beer guy. Those are very much a part of my life. And so I coach in a way that allows people to create a sustainable lifestyle, not rigid and telling you that you need to eat chicken, brown rice, and broccoli every meal, and allowing you, enabling you, and empowering you to see that you can get healthy and still enjoy some of the great things that life has to offer that we're often told are not quite healthy for us. So, there's a time and a place, but that's really kind of a little bit about my backstory. I did go through my own health transformation. I gained 60 pounds after my mother's death, turned to drinking again and fast food and convenient foods because I was in a dark place. And so, I later went on to drop the 60 pounds in about 9 months. And that's when I became very passionate about health and wellness and fitness, became a personal trainer and a fitness nutrition specialist, really got into the health coaching space. And then, took all of those experiences and all my knowledge and kind of started Bod Health almost 2 years ago.
It's a great story to what you have said to the listeners at the moment. And like I said, it was part of the evolution of your life as part of where you are today and for Bod Health and what you offer people and the learnings you took from it. Because that's one of the biggest things that I try and say to people. People all the time go, hey, I failed at this, or I struggled at this situation, and they don't take that into consideration that is actually part of the learning, that is part of the evolution of who you become or what one day you'll be offering, and take that as part of, this is the pack, right? I didn't do well here, I moved to this new space, I didn't do too well there, and I moved to the next area, and then finally I get a finished product. And like you said, is where you are today is fundamentally going through those steps of in the 20s, having the drug abuse, finding yourself in the nursing section, and sometimes having trouble there itself, but fundamentally it became a building block of your foundation to what you offer your customers today. And also, one thing that was great what you said as well was that you're not just taking people or someone coming to you and say, hey, I'm going to give you a six-pack. My business is just not about making you ripped or look good. It's about actually fundamentally giving you a better life. But if that means just losing 10 pounds and training and getting you off certain type of medication that unfortunately in the American space is a very big thing, and culturally that they medicate you up to sort out your life problems, not by actually giving you life opportunities. So instead of saying, hey, go run for half an hour every day and do these sort of exercises, they say, hey, here's medication to get rid of your anxiety and your stress. And it's great to see that you're going on that full spectrum of health or looking after people, then other than saying, okay, I'm going to give you a six-pack.
Yeah. And, I'll tell you, man, for me, the reason I started my business was purely out of unfulfillment. I mean, I wanted more fulfillment in my life. I knew that I was capable of making a bigger impact. And I I didn't want to look back on my life and with regret and wonder why I never took the chance, and why I never took the leap to start my own business and really make the impact that I knew I was capable of making. And so for me, you're 100% right with, the American culture is, we've gotten to a point now where the obesity rate in our country is skyrocketing. It's projected that by the year 2030, 50% of our population will be obese, not just overweight, but obese. We're at 39.6%, I believe, the last time I checked. And with that being said, I'm very much about awareness and giving people the tools to create a sustainable lifestyle. The issue is that we are in a point where physicians do not have time to spend with patients these days, and have almost lost, most physicians have almost lost patience with where we're at in our country in terms of health. And so, I would venture to say, 7 out of 10 patients that come in to see their doctor, aren't prepared to address their health. They're not prepared to address the root cause. And so it's almost as if the physicians aren't even wasting their breath with that. They're like, all right, well, your blood pressure's high, your cholesterol's high. Let's slap these 2 medications and we'll see you in 3 months instead of addressing the root cause. So I'm glad that you brought that up, because I'm very much about addressing the root cause so that you don't have to have, put these Band-Aids on your issues.
Yeah, totally. And unfortunately, we also, I'm going to piss someone off by saying this, but we're also in the culture and the environment, in the sense that, as you talk about, the doctors are going to give you the meds and kick you out the door. There's also proof that's shown that these doctors fundamentally sometimes are not there for your best intentions. Some of them are driven financially. Some of them are driven by business. So they get companies that are coming over. The big pharma comes over and says, "Hey, you need to push this product for anxiety. You need to push this product for stress. You need to push this product for obesity." And there's the kickbacks. So when you come in and you tick one of those boxes, all he sees is dollar signs, and he goes, "Great, I'm going to feed you this. I'm going to feed you this. Come back." And unfortunately, a lot of the medication that is formed around it, some of the stuff is quite addictive. You can't just get off it. People are 6 months, 12 months, 18 months later, they're on their meds to control their situation, but they're actually almost addicted to those meds. And so it's quite a hard struggle to come off of it to actually get their life under control. And they think they're doing the right things because they're listening to someone culturally that should be looking after them. But fundamentally, they're so flawed these days that person's actually only looking after sometimes their own bank balance. And like I said, what I'm saying right now might piss people off because they might totally disagree, but there's so much proof in the open market that some of the doctors, some of the physicians that you go out to are controlled by other organizations that want to put stuff in your pockets or want you to consume stuff so that they can make money out of it.
Yeah, the issue, and I talked about this the other day in a different interview that I was doing, and I was actually on, it was my podcast, and I was asking, this world champion bodybuilder who doesn't compete anymore, but we were talking about that, and I'm glad you brought it up, because I very much believe that big pharma in the United States is very much a financially driven industry, just like anything. Money makes the world go round, and we're kidding ourselves if we don't believe that. And so what we're seeing today is these physicians that not only don't have time, but also are basically incentivized by prescribing certain medications. If they're getting a cut out of every prescription that they write for a certain medication, why do they want to take the time and basically maybe waste their time in many situations of addressing the root cause when, hey, not only does my patient not care about their health, they're hoping for a Band-Aid, which in the form of a medication, but if I give this Band-Aid out, I'm also going to get paid for it. So, it's a win-win situation for the physicians, and it becomes even more of a health crisis for our country.
Totally agree with that. So part of your brand as well, you got something called the Man Up community.
Yes.
Can you explain to our listeners what the Man Up community, what Man Up actually represents, and what you're offering in that sense?
Absolutely, man. And I'm glad you brought that up, because the Man Up community, so when I first started my business, I thought that I was going to operate purely out of a private client mode, we'll call it. And when I started thinking about that, and as time went on and my business evolved a little bit, it started getting to the point where, I was like, I started my business to make a bigger impact. And the only way that I'm going to make a bigger impact is by being able to help larger numbers of people at scale. And so I started the Man Up community, which is a subscription program. And for less than the cost of one fast food meal per month, men can become part of something much greater than just their own individual health goals. And what that is that, in the Man Up community, we are there to lead by example. We are there to become the healthiest and most elite versions of ourselves. We are there to dominate our day by making ourselves a priority so that we can show other people what it's like to, hey, we can be healthy, but we also celebrate our cheat meals. If we have a tasty looking burger on a Friday night, I want to see those pictures in the community because I include that in my newsletter.
Mm-hmm.
If you try a new beer, we want to hear about it. And it's all about, it's all about living life to the fullest, but also staying grounded with your priorities and making sure that you're making your health a priority at all times. And so when you start to think about it like that on a much greater scale, this is not about guys coming in and, getting shredded and ripped and becoming a bodybuilder or, becoming the next endurance athlete or anything like that. This is giving guys a community, a brotherhood to become part of, that they can leverage the support and accountability for whatever their health goals are. So we've got some guys in there that are getting pretty lean and getting, putting on muscle mass. We've got guys in there that are 100 pounds overweight and are just trying to slowly change their health habits. And so it's really a one-stop shop for you to come in, leverage the support and accountability from other men who are all on different journeys, but with a common goal in mind. And when they come in, they get the support of the private community. It's a private Facebook group, and this is worldwide. I've got people in there from different continents, and it's really awesome to see it coming together like it has. But they get access to my private group. They get access to my newsletter every week, and then they also get access to my fitness app that has a huge library of all different kinds of workouts for people that are just in the beginning phases of their fitness journey all the way up to the advanced people. And so they can go in, really pick whatever workout they want to follow and just start getting consistent. It's all about having a self-paced community that provides you the support and accountability you need to take your health to the next level. I've got a guy in there recently that's standing out in my mind who came in a little over 3 months ago, has dropped 35 pounds, and just cracked 180 on the scale. So he posted a picture of his scale at 179.6, and he's talking about 170 being his next stop. And so that'll put him 40 plus pounds when he finally gets there, all by a $9.97 subscription program that he's leveraged and really taken it and run with it. So if you stay engaged, if you get in there, you post, you let people know what you're going through, other guys chime in. They're either in a similar spot or they've been there, or maybe they're not quite there yet. But the bond that we formed in there, we do monthly health habit change challenges where we'll focus on one thing. So this month it's getting active, right? It's January. So this month we're talking about, if you're in a consistent exercise routine, add 10 minutes on. If you're not doing anything at all, add 10 minutes of physical activity to your day. So it's just getting that in your mind to start the day, to say, hey, today I'm going to commit to doing an extra 10 minutes. And those little wins add up big time, as you well know. And so the power of community is one of the most influential pieces of my own health transformation. And so when I started my own community, it became something much greater than just my own personal goals. And I'll tell you that I'm inspired by them every day. If I'm thinking about skipping a workout, I can go in, see 4 or 5 people post about their workout, and off to the gym I go. And so it's been a great thing.
It's great you talk about the power of the community. A lot of people call them their tribes or their community or their groups, in Facebook world. And a lot of people see it social media wise going, hey, they've just started a new group because they want to make a business off it. But they don't understand the fundamentals of how empowering, how motivating an actual correct group that you're part of gives you accountability and keeps you that focus. I see it all the time. The businesses that set up their business groups in the right manner achieve so much more success than, like you said, you wanted to be originally thought you're going to be a one-to-one trainer. You'll be a one-to-one business owner, and you achieve the goals. And then realize that if you want to help many, you had to do one-to-many the only way you can do that was through an effective Facebook group fundamentally at the moment. But to everyone else, as up in the Man Up community, they can come in and they get their daily motivations. Like you said, you can go in there and you can scroll and see what someone's doing today, and someone's achieving a goal and someone's hitting their targets. And it's the same as if you went out with your mates on a Friday night or a Saturday night, or you go meet up with people and this guy says, hey, I just sold this customer, I just closed this deal, I just achieved this target this week, irrespective of if it's health-wise or business-wise. It puts a little fire in most people's asses to say, okay, cool, I've got to change a little bit to try and achieve what I need to do. Or this person did this really cool step, and it's actually a quicker step to follow to give me better health or better in my business. Let's follow that sort of niche. And that's where I see a big drive and I see a big success in very well-driven Facebook groups these days for the community that's part of it.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right, man. And I read an article not long ago about the power of these online communities, and in a digital age with social media being at the forefront of most people's minds in some form or fashion, whether it's business related, entertainment related, whatever you go there for, most people are on social in some form or fashion. And so having an outlet like that, no matter where you're at along your journey, I mean, I've got guys in there who aren't really even focused on physical health, but maybe they're focused on mental health, or maybe they came in there to leverage the community to quit smoking or to reduce their drinking. There's just so many great things that come out of it that aren't all necessarily driven around, running an extra mile or eating an extra salad. It's really a self-paced program, we'll call it, but a brotherhood that is formed. And it's funny because people out there who are listening, they're like, well, I don't know any of these guys. Well, guess what? There's not a single person in there that knew anybody else before they joined. They got in there, they opened up a little bit, became vulnerable, got engaged, and now they've taken their health to an entire new level that they didn't think was possible before. And so if you're doubting yourself, if you're hesitant about something like that, take the leap, especially on a low cost program like that. There's I'm sure there are other people out there offering something similar. Maybe they're more expensive, maybe they're cheaper, but I wanted to come in at a price point where it just became a no-brainer. Even the guy at Walmart who will never do anything more with his career than work at Walmart would still have an outlet and something that he could afford to become the leader of his family in every aspect, and be around long-term for his children.
I love that. It gives everyone an equal opportunity to try and improve themselves, irrespective of where they are in their life. So one thing I want to talk about, obviously, talking about the business and the coaching and the group and stuff. I just wanted to take a little bit of a step back into it. So, as you said, as part of the Man Up community, there's a daily, your weekly newsletter, there's the community group, but also fundamentally, you spoke about there's the fitness app. So in this game at the moment I wanted to talk and spend a few minutes about this. Is obviously you've built an app out of your business. Today, there's a lot of people considering, building an app, whether it's the best way to go for their business, because with social media, I can just push through everything through social media. What was your consideration about launching the app, and how long into the business did you realize I should be doing this? Or did you start from day one with the actual fitness app and just catalog all your data?
Well, and that's a great question, because I actually use a software company to leverage their software. I had it fully branded for my company. And so, it has the look of Bod Health, but I bought that, or I started using that in the beginning because I use it with my private clients as well. And so what I do, there's a function in there that turns off the two-way messaging. And so obviously with the Man Up community, that's a low cost program. They don't have two-way access to me as my private clients do. If they want to post something, they can tag me or they can post in the group. And then, that's the best way to get a response. With my private clients, they have 24/7 access to me, and a lot of them utilize the meal photo accountability. So what they do is they take pictures of their food, send it to me so that I can get a good assessment of what's going in their body on a daily basis and why they're moving forward and getting and making progress and why they might not be. It's the ultimate form of accountability. If you send me a picture of everything that you ate, whether it was good or bad, then you and I both know where you stand, you know? And so it's a requirement that I've put on my private clients that, look, man, like at the end of the day, I can help you get to where you want to go. But if if you're not compliant with this one action that I'm asking of you, I don't know what's going on behind the scenes. You might be piling your face with ice cream and I don't know about it. And so it's very, it's very powerful. But with that being said, it was something that I utilized early on. And then a little bit later into my business, I was like, you know what? There's got to be a way for me to make this a massive thing to where I can get a lot of people in here, be able to service them at a much broader level, but still provide maximum value. And so I had people paying me just for the app way before I started the community.
Yeah.
One guy was paying me $25 a month just for the app and never once complained about it. And then when I was like, hey man, like I've created this community, you're the only one paying $25. How about we move that down to $9.97 and you're going to get all this extra stuff. And it blew his mind. Right. And so, for me, it's maximum value at that minimal price point to really just make the largest impact that I possibly can at that price level.
It's great. I love that. Also, one thing about Jason is he runs his own podcast series, as most of us do these days. And one thing that was great to see on that as well is obviously we're talking about men's health, men's their business, their lives these days. But one thing you've done in your brand as well is also made sure that you brought on and you discussed this dilemma with actual females as well. So you've had females come on the show and spoken to them and for their perception, right? So it's not just a one-sided, general, specific business you're running. You actually gone to the females, people in the female health game, and just spoke to them about their experience, not just towards the males, also on the females, but then also speak to females about their opinion and their views about what is important about health towards their partners, their husbands, and so forth. Because like I said in the very beginning, health is not just about a six-pack and looking ripped down on the beach. Health is about being effective as a boyfriend, a husband, as a partner. And a big thing that you talk about your show is being effective as well as being a husband, to be able to perform with your wife or your partner or the other side. So there's that whole conundrum of being able to put that into place. And it's always great to see someone that would go on the other side of where their actual niche is and to talk to the other side, like I said, talk to the females and say, what is their opinions? What is their thoughts of what is important for their partner's health and their mental state as well?
Yeah, and involving the female side, or at least getting the female perspective here is so huge because, you often go on to social media and we'll see, women talking about, hey, I prefer a dad bod. I love guys with dad bods. And the conclusion that I've come to, not just with female guests, but other men guests as well, is that, it's really just a matter of the comfort zone thing. It's obvious that you prefer a guy with a dad bod because that makes you feel more secure about where you're at on your health and fitness journey. Even if you're somewhat fit, but you've got a little bit of extra weight, that the guy with the dad bod is going to make you feel real comfortable with that little bit of extra weight you've got. If you've got a lot of weight to lose, the dad bod is, it's a sign of comfort. And you and I both know that, comfort zones are very comfortable, but nothing ever grows there. Right. And so, for me, bringing awareness around the dad bod and getting that female perspective, letting people know, hey, no female in her right mind, appreciates a dad bod more than a fit bod, because you're not holding yourself to the highest standard possible. It's not about not loving yourself or not accepting yourself for who you are, but it's about wanting to grow, wanting to do more, wanting to become that most elite version of yourself. And if you've got a dad bod and you're accepting of that dad bod, when deep down inside, you're capable of more. And in order to do that, you've got to prioritize your health and reduce your health risks. Because let's face it, a guy with a dad bod in a lot of situations is a ticking time bomb for a bigger health crisis.
Correct.
Dating back to the time when I worked in the ICU, I've done CPR on some very young men, late 30s, early 40s, who chose to ignore their quote unquote dad bod a little too long, and it ended up in a heart attack. And so what you have to realize is this is not about vanity. This is not about looks. This is about health and health risks, and bringing awareness to a potential deadly trend that we're seeing of people saying, this being very anti-body shaming. I'm not saying that you need to body shame. This is no knock on anybody who has a dad bod or any woman out there who's a little bit overweight. This is about, look, here's the real situation. Deep down inside, you might only have a little bit of extra on the outside, but in terms of a man, we carry all of our weight around the area, the midsection, which is visceral fat that is starting to accumulate around your major organs. So this dad bod that you're talking about, you might only have 15 extra pounds. Well, then you gain another 5, and then another 5, and another 5, and now you've gone 3 years, and now you're 30 pounds overweight.
Yep.
And this, soft, cuddly dad bod has turned into a heart attack waiting to happen. And that's why I'm so passionate about my mission.
Awesome to hear that. Also, I wanted to speak to you about, at the moment, it's, again, something that's important, or not important, it's quite popular in the culture. So you obviously have, every couple of months, you've got the new fad, the new diets, the new things that's going on. Obviously, something that's very big at the moment in the community is plant-based diets and so forth. I wanted to just ask you a question. What is your opinion about these different fads that go over 3 months or 6 months? If I'm expecting March or April a new fad to come out. It's been a few months since the last one, but the different diets and different fads. How do you control that around your clients and your customers to make sure that they don't just get caught in that whirlwind of, hey, do this, lose 10 pounds. Hey, do this, lose 5 pounds this week. How do you communicate that message clearly to them?
That's a great question, man, because I am very much anti-fad diet. You got keto, you got Whole30, you got, some of the lower carb and paleo, whatever the next fad diet is going to be. The issue is that most people fall flat on their face when they try to follow that. Keto is the big craze right now because we obviously live in an immediate gratification society. And we all get answers at the drop of a dime. And when you have that mentality, people start to expect that with their health as well. Mm-hmm. And I was talking to a lady the other day during a presentation I was giving for another private group. And she mentioned that she lost 60 pounds last year. And she's recently gained the 60 pounds back, all by following keto. And the science shows that it's actually more unhealthy to lose gain than it is to just maintain the same consistent overweight or obesity over the same span of time. And what I try to caution people most about is, look, man, at the end of the day, you don't need to villainize carbs. Carbs are not the villain. They're not the bad guy. You've got to figure out a way to best fit them in your life with different carb, I call it carb timing, the times of the day that you eat carbs and kind of how you structure that in your day. And then also the type or the source of carbs. And that's where a lot of people go wrong, is like, they're not educated enough to know what they should be eating and when they should be eating it. And when you start to figure that out, the magic really happens. And now you have a sustainable way to live. Every Friday night and every Saturday night without fail, those are always cheat meals for me. I always have a burger or pizza or tacos or whatever I've been craving for the week. It serves two purposes. It's that I can't have it now, but I can have it later mentality. And so what it does for me is it's not really a reward, because I don't feel like you should reward yourself with food. That's the wrong mentality to have. But the reward would be, hey, I worked hard on my health all week. Now I'm going to go have some time where I'm going to spend time with my family, and I'm not going to be super cautious about what I'm eating. I'm going to order whatever looks good on the menu. I'm going to enjoy myself, and then it's right back to the grind the next day. And when you have that mentality, you're setting up the structure to have a very sustainable lifestyle. And I won't dive too deep into how I help clients create that structure in their life, but really, if you can grasp the I can't have it now, but I can have it later mentality, it is so powerful. And
Yep.
some people can go 2, 3, 4 weeks with that mentality before they quote unquote cave. But the reason I schedule mine in is to prevent that caving, because I don't want my cheat meal to turn into a binge day.
Mm-hmm.
I would rather my cheat meal be a one and done, out of my system. That was awesome. Now I'm going to get back to the grind tomorrow, because I know what real nutrient dense foods do for my body, the energy they give me, the brain fuel they give me. And I know how much powerful I perform on a daily basis by having those in my life. And so it's really just a mindset shift.
Yep.
But to answer your question, man, like the fad diets are that. They're fad diets because they're a fad. They're a way to give you a quick ticket to where you want to go. But most cases, it typically backfires. And that's what I try to warn people most.
Great. Like that. I love that. Can you provide our listeners at the moment sort of one or two sort of tips that you've seen in the current place, that if anyone came up to you, sort of what is the main focus points about anyone that approaches you or talks to you at the moment to keep into consideration, or as part of a daily routine or weekly routine, sort of guidance points? What do you think that, just if you had 30 seconds with someone and they came to you and said, hey, overall, I'm looking for better health, what is your one or two go-to pieces to tell them, focus on this?
Yeah, that's an awesome question, because I think that far too often what I see is people overwhelm themselves with the uphill battle. What happens is we wait too long to create change. And then when it's time to create change, I had a podcast guest one time tell me his best piece of advice was take action before you have to. And that's pretty simple. But sometimes the most elementary things are the most powerful in life, right? And so what he meant by that is take action before you have to. Take action before your doctor's saying you've got diabetes, or you're about to have diabetes, or you've got high blood pressure, or you're about to be on medications for this or that, or whatever it looks like for you. So what I encourage people to do is really, failing to plan is planning to fail, right? We hear that all the time. So it's about slowing down and realizing, having that self-talk with yourself that I didn't gain 50 pounds overnight. I'm certainly not going to lose 50 pounds overnight. So what can I do now to start feeling better almost immediately?
Yep.
And those pieces are what people don't believe in, because they want that quick fix, that magic pill. But when I tell people to make one or two changes, as in if you're starting the week off, your eating habits are piss poor, you drink nothing but soda and energy drinks, you're sedentary, your sleep sucks, you're a stressed mess, you don't even know what a salad looks like because you haven't had one in 10 years. That's a lot going on. And those are a lot of changes that need to happen in order for you to get to your optimal health or your optimal performance level. So it's about determining 1 to 2 things that you can do today to start feeling better tomorrow. And so everybody's situation is unique. And so if you're that guy that I just described, my number one advice to you is start cutting back on the soda and the energy drinks and start getting more water into your life. If you're not drinking any water now, don't overwhelm yourself with trying to get to half your body weight in ounces, which was where I think you should be. But start incorporating more water and a little bit less soda and energy drinks, and make that process gradual. It doesn't have to happen overnight or even in a week. This is something that needs to take time so that you can establish this as a new healthy habit. Most people do not drink enough water, but they also don't realize how much energy water really gives you. And so that one piece could propel you into a new state of mind and really get you building some momentum towards better health. Another thing you could do is, if you're not active at all, commit to 3 days a week of a 10-minute walk. That's 30 minutes per week of exercise that you're not currently getting. And I can guarantee you, here's the thing, is most people don't realize this either, is that the mental process behind walking 5 times a week for 45 minutes is the exact same as walking 3 times a week for 10 minutes. But we all want that quick fix. We all try to overdo it in the beginning because we want those immediate results, and those just don't happen. Usually you'll fall on your face. And so If you can start walking 3 times a week for 10 minutes and start getting those little wins built up, mark an X on a calendar so that you can look back in a month and say, holy shit, I walked 12 times for 10 minutes this month and I didn't have any plans to do anything. That's a huge win. But here's the thing. Most people aren't going to stop at 10 minutes after about a week or two because your body's going to want more. Your body's going to yearn for more. Your body's going to say, look, keep going because this is awesome. I need more of this in my life. And so now you've got activity in your life. You've got more water in your life. We haven't even talked about nutrition. Those 2 things alone will significantly improve your energy levels and give you more motivation to continue to push forward so that you can build this foundation of health and achieve your optimal performance level.
I love it. I love it. The 2 key areas or the 2 key tips you brought up at the moment is a simple change. It's an effective change that can be done for everyone. Increase the water if it has to be their way, and increasing just going for a walk, like you said, 3 times a week for 10 minutes, and then letting your body react to that, giving it the time to build up those good habits. And then only once that's in place, then you can actually be going and go, okay, we're going to now transition the diet. So you don't have to change on day 1, change the water, exercise, change your diet, and put your body through these massive shocks on day 1, day 3, or day 5. And that's where a lot of people fall back on because they go, like you talked about, the mountain's too high from day 1. But if we slowly step at the bottom of the base, we can slowly make our way around it by slowly changing things that are effective towards our body.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%, man. It's such a crucial point. And when people realize it's okay to slow down, that's the thing, is that you and I both know that confidence is built by those little wins adding up every single day. And it's really about keeping the promises you make to yourself. If you are starting off the week super unhealthy and this is going to be the week you turn it around and you tell yourself, you know what, I'm going to walk Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I'm going to drink more water and I'm going to try to eat a little bit healthier, follow through with those commitments. When you break those promises and those micro commitments, not only do you get further and further away from your goal because now you're in a downward spiral that you've already been in, but you're also losing trust with yourself. You're losing confidence. You're not giving your body the ability to your brain to get those little wins going in the right direction for you. And the more of those, the more micro commitments and promises that you break, the less confidence that you're going to have. And like I said, the farther you're going to get away from your goal.
I love it. And I think that's a great point to end off the show today, just to take the small, sustainable steps to move yourself towards the end goal. And then you can evolve over the time. Give yourself time, understand the small basic steps to improve your life for mental state and your physical health, and go from there. But Jason, before we end off the show, as always, I ask, where can our listeners find you? Where's your social handles, your website, and so forth?
Yeah, man. So, you brought up the Man Up community earlier in the show. And so I'll go ahead and tell anybody that wants to do a 7-day free trial of that. Look, if you're out there and you're struggling to get consistent or you're struggling to get started, come give it a shot. I'm actually going to be, we're recording this on January 14th. So very soon, I believe either this weekend or next weekend on Sundays, I'm going to start doing live trainings in there as well, which adds even more value. And so, you get the community, you get the app, you get the newsletter, you're going to get live trainings from me now moving forward. And so all of that for less than $10 a month could be just what you need to get you going in the right direction. So that's just www.themanupcommunity.com. And then in terms of finding me on social, Instagram is @Bod Health. Same thing on LinkedIn. My LinkedIn profile is just the Bod Health. Facebook, I'm Jason Priest. Same pictures everywhere, but Instagram's probably the best place to kind of consume some of my content. And then, my podcast, if you want some, you want to get a little bit of more taste of what I do and who I am and what I'm about, that's the Dad Bod Pod, and I'm everywhere, iTunes, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts at.
That's awesome. Thanks so much, Jason. And to everyone else that has joined us today, thank you again for joining the Wolf of Queen Street audio podcast or YouTube series. And just remember, it takes small steps to make an effective change over long term. But at the end of the day, people, as I always say, I don't charge anything. I don't push anything in front of you. But all I say is if you enjoy the show, enjoy the episode, all I ask from you is to reach out to one friend or one person and tell them to come on over, come have a listen, come see what we're trying to achieve by changing people's lives, by giving the tips and guidance of people who have gone through that experience. But anyway, at the end of the day, have a beautiful day, and we'll chat to you later. Bye.